This is what it looks like to vibe code as I've learned the best practices that I've found. This is just my knowledge as of today. Make no guarantees this is the right way to do it, only this is what's working so far. So your journey in vibe coding, much like normal kind of coding, starts over in Jira or issue tracker. We're going to figure out what to do. So I'm going to take this one. This was a ticket that was required by a customer. They wanted to be able to set a custom field in Jira and have that show up in PQL so that they could do allocations based on it. Let's build this thing from scratch. It's going to be a few little pieces here. This is not complicated enough to do the rules file. So if I was going to be doing something large with a bunch of steps, I would probably start with a rules file. Now, what does that look like? Let's take a look at Cursor. So over in Cursor, we have, and this is kind of a Cursor specific thing, but you'll have different files here. These are coding guidelines, things like that. These are included every time. So these are basically the pieces of text that get added to the context for all calls. But this one is an example of a step-by-step process. I was adding linear support to Pulse, so it had a bunch of steps. And so the first thing I did is I worked with the LLM to create this document. It took a stab, I read it, we went back and forth till we finally found what we liked. And then I said, execute step 1, execute step 2, so on. So the feature we're going to do isn't big enough to require this. This is pretty cool though. It gets nice little documentation. So next time you need to add a new issue provider, we have some docs for it. It can help with the LLM, or even if we don't use them anymore, it just helps the person. So I like that feature of it. However, what we're going to be building today is not big enough to need a separate rules file. So we need to dig into the code and figure out what exactly we're going to do. Well, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how this is going to be used. So if you remember right, PQL has a thing of tags, and the values that it finds in the issue, it adds as tags, and that allows you to search and filter and all that kind of thing. These are the tags that are put in by Jira under fetching. So you can see it as project name, epic, whatever, components, labels, and that's it. But with Jira, you can do custom fields. Now, note linear, you can't. So this is kind of a Jira specific thing. So I'm not going to build something abstract that works for all issue providers yet. We're just going to build something for Jira. So what we're probably going to want to do is have something say down here, which is going to look at some custom fields and is going to create tags based on those custom fields. Now, where do those custom fields come from? Well, we have a thing, an object called custom fields. Come on, buddy. I'm not really good at VS Code, so you have to bear with me. Anyways, we have this thing that is not at all what I wanted. Oh, come on. Custom fields. Where is custom fields? It's somewhere in here. In fact, actually, if I probably scroll up there. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't find it. Whatever. Here it is. So this is something that we read from the extra data in the integration authentication, and it's a dictionary of custom fields. And we load it, and we just know these 3 that we know we care about. So what if we extended this to also find any unknown ones and just store them in a dictionary? And then later, we put that on the object and issue here, and then later, when it's doing this thing and getting issue tags, it can pull it off the issue and create a tag for it. So I'm kind of thinking those are the 3 areas that we're going to modify, and of course write tests and things like that. So step 1 is we need to do this. We have custom fields, start date, we found one, and then null, because this is for data center. So we already have, this is what's stored in the integration authentication. We're going to say any additional property in this dictionary will be added as a custom field. So double custom. Anyways, so now that we have an idea of what we want to do, we're going to start a new chat. Now, why we start a new chat? Because we want to clear things away. As you know, with LLMs, the context builds and builds over time and soon starts to get slow, starts to get expensive. That's a switch to models that have massive context windows. So unfortunately, you can't just ignore all aspects of LLMs. When you're doing this kind of thing, you have to know what it's doing. For example, up here shows what fields are in scope. So when the LLM is doing things, it's going to look at these fields. Now, it has some capability to look for things outside the code base or outside what you specify, but I find you get better results if you're more specific. So, custom fields is not at all what we wanted to put in context. That's going to confuse the hell out of this. So, we're going to start. We're going to start with a high-level goal, and we're going to break it down into steps. Think of a junior developer. The more you tell them what files to modify, how to modify them, what you're trying to do, the better results you are. The better results you get. So, we want to support custom fields as issue tags in the Jira provider. Let's do this in steps. First thing we're going to do is we are going to modify custom fields in, I think that was objects, right? So what I did is I did an at symbol, yes. And then I'm going to specify the file directly. That way that gets loaded in its memory and it knows exactly what you're talking about. To identify any unknown fields and load them into a dictionary called custom, I guess? What should we call it? Custom. Yeah, I think that. Let me just jump over into here. So you'll see that we get from extra data any unknown dictionary fields from extra data and load them in a dictionary called custom stored in the custom fields object. Okay, so that will get anything that it doesn't, if it does not one of these three, loaded into a dictionary. Okay, step 1. Step 2 is we are going to modify Jira JSON to issue to take all the custom fields in and store them in the issue object. Actually, so then that makes me think we need to do another thing. We actually need to do step 2, modify, well, where is this thing found? This is found in base. Modify base issues to support a new attribute called fields that will store additional fields for the provider. Okay, now we're going to say modify Jira to JSON issues in. Should probably tell it where that is. No, let's just close that one out of the context. Where was the, I think that was in issues, right? No, not linear. What? Fetching, right. This is actually probably getting a bit complicated for the LLM, so we'll see. So something I usually like to keep it so there's just 1 or 2 files. This is getting a little complicated, so I don't know. We'll see. This might be a terrible idea. What we could also do is say that this is just a plan, only execute step 1, because the less you have them do, the less confused it seems to get. So in fetching, there it is, to take all the custom fields in custom fields.custom and the fields field. I guess that's not confusing at all. Step 4 is modify, I think that was in our get issue tags, in fetching to retrieve the fields from the issue object and create a tag for each entry in the dictionary. only execute the first step. And go. Because again, you don't want to tell it to do too many things. It'll get really confusing. So what's interesting is this is how they work. They always tell you what their plan is. So they're going to create a plan for your plan. And then you can see them start making some changes. And at the end, they'll always tell you all the things that they did. So let's go over to our objects and see if they did what I wanted. Extract known fields. Oh, okay, and that's kind of interesting. So we have a default dictionary, which is about what I would have done. That's pretty cool. And they have let's see in the extra data if they have custom fields. And if so, what do we do with that? We grab them all. If they're not in known fields, these are the known fields. Let's see if they can determine the known fields from the object attributes itself instead of a duplicated string list. Let's see if it is clever enough to do that. All right, what did it do? What's known fields? So it does them all but custom. That's pretty clever. I kind of like that. And then it does, okay, the only difference is I didn't want custom fields. Should it be its own attribute, or should we just say anything in the dictionary that's not a known field is, let's see what that did. Instead of expecting the key custom fields to exist in the more specific you talk, it seems like the better you do. Extra data. Simply use any keys that aren't known, that don't match known field names. All right, so yes, it's a better approach. Thanks, buddy. It loves to do that kind of stuff to you. Okay, so it goes and it finds anything that it doesn't know about, and it stores them in custom. That seems right. I like that. Let's write a test for base.py that ensures unknown keys and extra data will be stored as in the custom property. Okay, so it's going to modify. You know what? I forgot to tell it what test file to execute, to modify. Yeah, and that's what I was afraid of. It decided to just put it there. Even though in my tests, I tell it, don't freaking do that. Do I already have a test file? No, but let's say move test objects. Is it test objects? Oh, maybe it hasn't indexed it yet. Move the test to the package sleuth.apps.jira.test.issues. Let's see if that works. Oh, yes, I will move it to the correct one. That always drives you nuts because you're like, well, if you knew that was correct, then why didn't you do it in the first place? But again, that's not how LLMs work. It's deleting the old one. And do we have one? And it created one in test. It says it created one here. This also could be because the indexer is slow. Test objects. Yeah, where the hell is test objects? Yes. Oh, where did it put it? Test issues. Ah, it should be in integration. Did I tell it to do that? Oh, did it do exactly what I tell it? I did tell it to do that. Move the test to Jira apps. No, damn it. Tooth apps, Jira test. Integration issues. So that's my bad. Did exactly what I told it to. Yep, delete the old one. All right, now we have a test. Cool. Now let's take a look at our test and see what it did. So we start with known fields and verify that worked correctly. Then it added an unknown field. Oh, and a nested field. Oh, that's clever. Oh, and it did one with Epic. Sweet. Okay, actually, I don't kind of like the 3 test in test custom fields from into their own test functions. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. And none. Gotta love it. That looks good. Let's say step 1 is complete. Now, I'm wondering if our text context is okay that we can start doing step 2. I don't know. I'm going to pretend it is. So now let's execute step 2 of the original plan. Boom. This should be a quick one. Although, again, every time it does something, it doesn't always quite do what you want. You're like, okay, that's kind of it, but kind of not. Because that's what it does. Where the hell is Jira? Oh, no, it's in issues. I was right there. Okay, so it added in new fields, default dictionary, string any. That looks right. Cool. Let's accept that. Good. And here's step 3 of the plan. Whoa, go. Oh, you know what I should do is I should run those tests. They look like they were going to work. And now, for running tests, I still like to use PyCharm. So while we're waiting, let's go over here. And let's find our test objects. God, I hate that name. And let's just run our tests and make sure that that's correct. What I like to do is I kind of get the test working visually, and then I'll go into PyCharm and actually run the test because I think it works better. Well, let me say I find the interface of PyCharm better. I find it way faster. It runs a test twice as fast for some damn reason. I don't know why, but I like that. Okay, what's this problem? We have an epic info and unknown field. Oh, you know what? You know what? I don't know if I care too much about that situation where there's custom fields and it's the legacy epic info. I kind of don't care because that's going to get cleaned up as soon as it gets loaded. It reads saves in the correct format. So I'm just going to take that test out, actually. And we'll run all the tests, and then I think we should be good. All right, cool. Back to the cursors. What did it do? That's what I mean. Sometimes you just let it do things. Go to it. All right, so what did it do? It said custom fields dot custom items for each one. Look at the item ID, and if you find it, store it as fields. Is that what I wanted it to do? Oh, yeah, this is where it's looking in the raw issue data, and it's going to find the custom field for these field IDs, And everything it finds, it's going to store that field name. What's the field name? That's going to be the custom field name that we gave it. It only uses the IDs to look up the value and then stores that as fields. That seems correct. Let's add a test. Add a test in, as I said, the more you can tell it exactly, to validate finding a custom field and storing it correctly in issue. Oh boy. Oh, let's see. Okay, so it tries, what's cool about it when you specify a file, it tries to match that file. It also super loves stub data, so be aware of that. So what hopefully it did is it picked one of these files, one of these custom fields, and used it for the test. Let's see if it's that clever, because that would be pretty clever. This is a known custom field. Oh, story points. This field is none and has a complex value. What's 1,000? Oh, yeah, it's a little JSON string there. And it verifies that is correct, and the none is, oh, I kind of like that. Let's go over to our good friend PyCharm and validate that that worked. Actually, I kind of like that solution. That's pretty damn clever. It loves to comment. I need to probably put a code style thing that you don't need to put comments all over the damn place, but also they're kind of handy. And one of the main problems with comments is they get out of date. But if you have, I kind of don't love that it hit the internet on that stuff. You can see it hitting get, so it's finding all the status stuff. Whatever. No, I don't love that. It shouldn't hit the internet at all in these tests. So this is because when it loads the Jira to JSON, this is something I really don't like. Let's jump over to Cursor. When it loads the Jira to JSON, it will fetch the issue history. Let's have it stub that out. In the test, stub out the calls to fetch issue history. Did it do that? Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, cool. Yep, return null. Okay, that's good. Let's go over to PyCharm, see what that looks like. See if we can get some of those remote calls down. Ooh, now it complains. This is something that we did, which every time it tries to create an org, it tries to create a dashboard, and then it complains about this issue because the widgets aren't always there. It's something that I find really annoying, and I started working around it, and I don't really want to deal with it right now, but it is really annoying. Verify. No, I don't care if issue history was called. You settle down. I just don't want it to do remote calls, that's all. So yeah, it makes it kind of complicated for when you're looking at your test. You're like, it has a bunch of error exceptions. Oh no, that's because the dashboard creation is doing that. But I don't want to turn it off because a lot of tests depend on the dashboard creation. It's a recent thing that we did, but it's problematic. Anyways, jumping back into Cursor. Good. What step are we on the plan? Execute step 3. Let's do step 4. Let's see if we do a new chat for better results with a summary of this conversation. That's correct. Okay, that's pretty cool. Do step 4. Oh, wow, that's red. Oh, my Py stuff or something. All right. Execute step 4 involves updating to store the custom fields of the issue. What? Yeah. Oh, maybe we already did step 4. Yeah, we already did step 4. My bad. Okay, in step 5. See, this is not what my original plan was. Crap. So it's thinking it was to add a test. I'm pretty sure that was not my step 5. Let's go into the history of our chats and let's see what I said in the beginning. Load older, load older, older. Yeah, this is the step 4. Okay, fine. So don't always assume that when it does the switching around thing, it does it correctly. Okay, let's just tell it to do that. You just shut up and do that. Because it didn't modify the issue tags. See, that was the one thing. So it looks like if you tell it do these 5 things and try to refer to back to as numbers, it may or may not work. It'll get really confused. Noted. Okay, yeah, that should be pretty simple. Add a test in test fetching to ensure that fields from issue are copied as tags by get issue tags. Where's my test fetching? All right. Oh, and it did the fetch. It stubbed out issue history because it saw that that was a thing. And then it turned that into an issue. I'm kind of surprised that it did that instead of actually just stubbing out an issue. I guess it just has so many fields that this was simpler. Verify the custom that the other ones are ready. Okay, let's just jump over back into PyCharm and see this new test. Yes, I don't love that this is called. Oh, damn it. I help you, sir. Yes, yes, yes. Otherwise, it looks about right. Okay, we just get our usual dashboard can't be created errors, and the test works correctly. Well, let's be a good developer, and let's do this. Let's comment out the new functionality. Let's rerun our test, because never trust a test that you haven't seen fail. Okay, we put it back in and it succeeds. All right, so I think what we would do next is we would run this locally, do some manual testing, just make sure that it seems to be working, that we can add a custom field in there, how hard is it, whatever. But as it is, it feels like this is shippable. Once I validate it finally works, it feels like it's shippable because it has plenty of tests. It seems to work. Yeah, it turned out to be not that hard in the end. Was it faster with vibe coding? I don't know, maybe. I kind of like that I didn't have to think about some stuff, like figure out how I was going to do the custom field and it was going to pull out the properties and ignore the unknown properties. It was kind of nice that I didn't have to think about that kind of thing. I could just this is what I want it to do. And then I see what it did because it's so much easier to look at what someone did and say, that's wrong, than it is to say, what is the right answer? So it's kind of nice to be able to do that. So I think what vibe coding does, or at least at this type example, is it frees up your mind to think about the problem and how you want it to look and not so much how it's going to work, which can be quite nice. The test generation is particularly quite good. It was nice to be able to say, I want to cover it. I liked how it actually went farther than I asked it to and covered a couple none situations and things like that. that was pretty cool. So as I said, like in this case, is it better than coding manually? I don't know if I would be. I'd probably be. Would I be? I think it is faster. It's just different. So, in one like this, where every change is going to like have 3 lines of code, probably not much. But when you're generating lots more code, it probably is a little bit faster, or significant faster. Anyways, so that's what it works. So in retro, to repeat, what I do is think about what you want to do, look at the implementation, how you want it to work, try to figure out kind of the steps. The more specific you are, the better results you'll get, and then have them do one by one, because if you just do them all, it will get confused and it's harder for you to review. So I like to do them one by one. I like to have a test run tests as it goes. I like to use PyCharm because it's just easier for me to work with, to validate the tests and just kind of make sure it's working. And then we're ready to go. Probably one of the future steps is to have Cursor actually create the commit message and create the pull request and run PyFormat and all those kind of things. That wouldn't be too hard actually through MCPs and things, but that's for another day. Anyways, this is what it looks like for vibe coding. Give it a try.